it's Michelle for ColorfulEncouragement.com. I'm working on a 3D card today, so I've got a piece of black cardstock and I'm trimming it down to 8 by 10.5. And set that strip aside for later, and I am going to be scoring this with my scoreboard in a couple of different spots at 3.5 and 5 inches, 8.5, and 10 inches. And then we're going to score it, and on the short side we're going to score it at just 3.5. And then we're going to use our pencil to make a couple of marks. But first I decided to trim off this side, and after I made my marks I cut them off. Please don't do that. Make the marks first. So I had to put it back and use my T-ruler to make the marks in the right spot. I am making 2 thin marks at the 5 mark and a longer one at the 6.5 mark, and you can see one I erased that wasn't in the right spot. So now we're just ready to cut this out, and I'm not going to make you guys watch me cut this out. Let's get these tabs cut out so they can float freely, and there'll be shelves to hold our food. Now we can fold this on our score marks, which makes this so easy to put together. Now we're ready to adhere this, so we've just got some tape runner on this tab we left, and just fold it down, fold it flat, and we've got our box. That's the base for our grill. Now we need some small pieces that are left to make grill grates. So I've cut them down to 3.5 by 4.25, and I'm scoring them at 3/8 and 3 7/8. Here I've got both of them. Let's finish scoring the second one, and we're ready to go. We're going to fold these so they look kind of like a Z. We're going to fold one towards us and one away from us. You can see how that kind of has a Z look to it. So we're going to fold them both the same way, and now they're ready to attach to our card. So we're going to add adhesive on the opposite sides. So we're going to flip it over and add adhesive on both sides, and we're going to put it inside. We're going to put one facing towards us, one facing away, and then just flatten that down, and it gets it perfectly straight every time. I love it. So we're going to do the same with the other one. Put adhesive on opposite sides, stick it in there so one tabs forward and one is away, and when you push it down flat, it gets it in there perfectly straight. And now we are ready for the next step. I'm taking this Impression Obsession die set, but all I've got is the flames out of it. So I use the flames and die cut it twice. I'm putting the die cuts back in their holders so they're easier to color. I've got some carved pumpkin distress ink and an ink blending tool, and I'm just going to swirl on a little color so they're a little bit darker at the bottom than at the top, like a real flame would be. And now we're ready to adhere it to our card. So I'm jumping ahead quite a bit. I'm not going to make you guys watch all the coloring and cutting out I've did, but I've got some strips of acetate. Any clear packaging will do. And I just cut it into strips about 1/2 inch by 2 inches. And you need Be Creative tape, which is nice and strong to stick to acetate. So I am sticking little bits of it on the side of the acetate, one end, and using my nail. You could also use a bone folder to make sure that's adhered really well. And then we're going to stick the flames to it. And once we add some adhesive to the bottom, we are ready to stick it in the attach it to the grill. Today I am using a stamp set from Waffle Flower called Meat Up. And I love all those little barbecue pieces, but if you found a sticker set, that would work just as well. I looked and looked and I wasn't able to find one, but I'm sure you could. So we've got our flames attached, and we're going to start working on attaching the rest of it here. I had colored all of the pieces I've used today with my Zig Clear Color Real Brush pens, And with a little water brush, it makes it so easy to color and get depth and dimension. But I'm not going to go into that today. Today the focus is on making a 3D card rather than focusing on exactly all the coloring. You guys could just stamp these on brown paper and get a pretty similar look with no work at all. Now I've got tabs on all of my pieces, which means that it looks like they're float on the grill rather than, you won't be able to see anything. So I'm attaching them one at a time, and the great thing is you can kind of play around with where you want them to be, move them around to get the placement right, and where you got it where you want it, you can smash the card down flat and make sure it's adhered really well. Because adhering acetate is a little hard. It's kind of slick and it's not always easy to work with, which is why the Be Creative tape is pretty important for this. Maybe glue would work. I don't know. I love the Be Creative tapes because it's easy to work with rather than something like liquid adhesive, which can be kind of messy. So I prefer this, and it's worked very well. And it's not that expensive either, and a little goes a long way. So you'll have it for quite a while. So now that I've got all my pieces attached and get my trash cleared up, we are ready to move on to the next step. Let's attach this little spatula, and I wanted to give it a little bit of dimension, so I just used a tiny piece of foam tape and popped that up a little bit so it's gonna just stick up above the card and make it easier to see. And then I will attach that to one of the little shelves that we have hanging off the side there. So that becomes part of the grill. A shelf to put food on while you're cooking. I've got a 2.5 inch circle, no, 1.5 inch circle, excuse me. And with some foam tape, I'm going to attach it to the other side, and I'm adding my little cheeseburger to the top. So that looks like it's on a plate and it's now ready to eat. So we've got that all attached, and I love how that looks. It's almost looking real. We've got a couple of cabinet pieces. I used some silver shimmer paper from Recollections, and I cut each side down to 3 by 1 3/8. I'm measuring down about 1 inch from the top of each so I can have the knobs that I'm creating in about the same spot. You guys could just eyeball it. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So now we need a very important crafter's tool, a large safety pin, and I've got a foam pad here, but a mouse pad would work just fine for this. And I'm just poking a hole. This enables me to put a small hole in the paper without creasing the paper. That's what the pad's for. So I could put my brads through it and open the brad at the back so it stays in place. And after that, I'm just going to add some foam tape to the back of both pieces and attach them to the grill. Here I am ready, now that the cabinet doors are attached, to work on my sentiment. I have got this silver postage piece, but you could just cut a square that's about 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. The red is 2 inches square and the yellow is 1 3/4 inches square. I added orange around the edge of the yellow with the Distress ink like I did on the flames. And here I'm attaching it to the lid of the grill. I attached the sentiment kind of loosely because I think I'm going to change the sentiment out later. But all that's left to do is add my little tongs over the front of it, and my card is complete. And the best part about this is it's the size of a 5 by 7 card, so it'll fit in an envelope. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for coming.